Jayanta Basu from the Planet TV channel Canada and the Plurals India right now in Belem, COP 30. And we are trying to see very closely what's happening on ground on the climate action. It's early days, but still some signals are coming out. And today I'm here to understand a few of those signals with a very, very important personality in context to global climate negotiation process and all. Jipura Burman, she is the founder chair of Anti-Fossil Fuel Treaty, and it was wonderful to meet you again. Madam, I think I met you at the sidelines of Glasgow.
That's
at
right.
that point of time, your Anti-Fossil Fuel Treaty movement was kind of shaping up. Now, clearly it has become much stronger now. Where does it stand right now?
Well, I think at Glasgow we were just socializing the idea that for 30 years we've been having these conversations about climate policy and climate negotiations, but actually fossil fuels have been invisible. And in fact, the Paris Agreement doesn't even include the words oil, gas, or coal, or fossil fuels. And so if we are going to phase out fossil fuels, which is absolutely critical because 86% of the pollution trapped in our atmosphere, causing the lethal heat, the storms, the fires, comes from three things: oil, gas, and coal. So if we're going to address that, then we need to ensure that we phase out fossil fuels.
Right.
Well, just since Glasgow, we now have over 4,000 organizations in 120 countries that have endorsed the idea of a fossil fuel treaty. This will be a companion to the Paris Agreement, a work plan for how we wind down and manage fossil fuels, and to ensure that it is equitable and just, that global north countries give the support that is necessary to countries in the global south in order to ensure the transition. So we have 4,000 organizations, including health organizations, every major faith institution in the world, the World Health Organization. And now 140 cities, including Calcutta, have endorsed the fossil fuel treaty. But most importantly, we now have 17 nation states around the table who are participating in the development of this new treaty, including several fossil fuel producers. Colombia, the 5th largest coal exporter in the world, Timor-Leste, and big countries in Southeast Asia. Pakistan is participating in the development of the treaty. So we have 17 countries now, and about 10 other countries who are sitting as observers in the technical meetings.
So I think there has been progress quite significantly since Glasgow, and I think the whole process might have been also strengthened by the fact that in the Dubai we saw even a CCC actually formally accepted that by 2050 the fossil fuel will go. There's a formal agreement at the COP. But unfortunately, we are yet to see any structured roadmap, targets to take out fossil fuel.
That's right.
So, what are your expectations from Belem? Do you see any movement on that end here at Belem?
There's a lot of talk about a roadmap for fossil fuel phase out, but there are challenges within this process. This is a process that is built on consensus, which means every country has to agree, 190 countries. And that's why we haven't seen progress on phasing out fossil fuels, because there are certain countries that stand to benefit from continued production of fossil fuels. A lot of people don't realize, but the far majority of fossil fuel production expansion is in the global north. In fact, if you just look at Canada, the US, Norway, and Australia, these 4 countries have increased their production of oil and gas by 40% since Paris. And so that's why we believe that it will be necessary to create a companion to the Paris Agreement outside of this process, that the work plan will be created by a coalition of the willing. And many more countries are starting to join that coalition in order to create that fossil fuel work plan. For there to be multiple treaties or agreements on any one issue within the United States, within the United Nations. For example, nuclear, there are multiple treaties. So the fossil fuel treaty would be the work plan for fossil fuel phase out that would sit as a companion to the Paris Agreement. A separate agreement, but bridges can be built between them. And one of the most exciting new developments is that Colombia has announced that they are going to host the first international diplomatic conference on fossil fuel phase out in April of next year. And this is a bit like Canada announcing the Ottawa Convention for landmines years ago, which eventually created the Landmine Treaty, which was then adopted into the UN. So sometimes these really hard issues need to be worked on outside of the UN process and then brought back inside. And that's what we're seeing with the fossil fuel phase out.
So we have heard where this anti-fossil fuel treaty and its whole movement is going, and quite clearly it is getting stronger by each day. And if we look at the reports that have come up leading to COP30 and during COP30, almost all of them are indicating towards the immense impact of fossil fuel on the human health. So I believe all those reports are going to add up and create pressure on the governments around the world. But also, as being pointed out, there are a lot of interest being linked to it, and it is not very easy to combat that. But we all hope that down the line, this anti-fossil fuel treaty, at least some form of it, will come up to counter the problem of fossil fuel. Thank you. Jayanto Basu from Belem, with me, Vishendu Bhattacharya in camera.